Gangsta Show.
Yeah, yeah, whoa. Yeah,
Ayy, see me, I'm a legend in these streets, yeah.
streets, boy.
If you need some game to come to me, yeah. Watch us turn y'all boys to men, y'all gon' see, yeah. Help them get some money, build their legacy, yeah. Whoa, see me, I'm a legend in these streets, yeah. If you need some game to come to me, yeah. Watch us turn y'all boys to men, yeah, you gon' see, yeah. Help them build some money, build their legacy, yeah. Ayy, said it's the gas station show, yeah. Whoa, we got that gas for your soul, yeah. Ayy, you need some game, this where you go, ayy. Whoa, you need some game, this where you go, ayy. We're not new to this, we've been true to this. We pulling out the slabs, just the lane switch. When them boys get mad, they get dangerous. Lil' homie, watch your backs, don't miss your angles. Said it's the gas station show, whoa, whoa. We got that gas for your soul, ayy. Whoa, said it's the gas station show, ayy, ayy. We got that gas.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It's the Gas Station Radio and the Power Tour done linked up together, man, today. And on the podcast, man, we finna do some powerful things, y'all. And so, you know, my boy, you understand, is in the building, man, with the Power Tour, man. So we gonna kick it off, man. What's up, man?
Not much. Listen, man, thanks so much for joining us today. Just for our listeners, go ahead and give them your name.
Okay, they call me Legacy, man. I'm Legacy Moves, man.
Yes, sir. And we've been taking a look at your podcast, and we're just impressed based off of the impact and everything that you're doing. You're definitely sharing some nuggets, some jewels, and things of that nature. And on the Power Tour, for these industry conversations, we just have candid conversations about a little bit about financial wellness, but how that relates to your life, how your impact has been made, not only to you personally, but the impact that you made to others. So we just want to just let you share exactly how you got to where you are, a little bit about yourself, and then kind of just share what you currently do, and tell us a little bit more about Legacy Moves.
You know, Legacy Moves is all about, man, just making legacy moves, man. Every move that we make, man, is about our legacy, about where we're going, about, you know, not just doing things in the wind, not just doing things to make money, not just doing things just because it's fun or it makes us feel good, man. You know, Legacy Moves is a family, is a culture, man, that I'm building, man, that every single move we make gotta be a legacy move, man. Gotta be for the legacy, man. Gotta be for your legacy, man. Your children's children, man. Not just for what you got going on today, or not just short term, or not just on some bullshit, or just trying to make a quick dollar, man. It's about the legacy that you create, man. And that's all what Legacy Moves is all about, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the family that we building, man, here in Legacy Moves, man. And that's all. That's basically what we're trying to do here with the legacy, man.
So help me understand exactly some of the entrepreneurial and some of the successes that you've had over the course of your life. I know you've been a serial entrepreneur, probably been in every type of business that can possibly be called out, but tell us something about some of your successes and where you found some of those successes.
Well, you know, first I started off young in the streets, man, and you know, I just didn't never want to be average. I ain't never had no desire to be average. So when I started off in the streets and I saw that I could be successful in the streets, man, that when I got in trouble and went to prison, man, I took the time out to learn as much as I can. I took the time out to build as much as I can through prison. And so when I got out, man, I started, but I've always been that guy. Even when I was in the street, I tried all kind of other businesses, man, from carpet cleaning business to, man, just, and everybody used, and my boys, man, back then, they used to make fun of me. Cause they go Nick trying something else. And, you know, but I was so deep in the streets back then, and I was so young, you know, I get discouraged. So when I moved to Atlanta, one of the greatest gifts that I got, man, was when I moved to Atlanta. Cause I got away from a lot of people that I was around, you know what I'm saying, that always, you know, that just wanted to keep me in the streets because, I was so good at what. And then my self-esteem didn't help me back then neither because all I could think about, man, every time they get to making fun of me, then I hated people to make fun of me, so I always went back to and resorted back to what I used to do when I was in the streets. And so, man, I just when I moved to Atlanta, I was able to create and be who I wanted to be. I was able to go through learning curves and go through the learning process without being ridiculed or without being made fun of. And so that helped me out a lot because, as you're growing and as you're building, man, it's hard because, you understand me, because when you're in the streets, man, then you trying to do something, you really want to get out the streets. Because I ain't never been no real thug. I ain't never been no real street nigga. I just made money and was with the women, you feel me? And so when I got out of that and moved forward, then I started doing real estate. I started my tow truck company, man. I had a trucking company. I bought 18 wheelers, man. I had 18 wheelers, man. I had, and I was successful. I always bought real estate, even when I was young, even when I was in the streets, man. You know what I'm saying? I had 9 duplexes. You know what I'm saying? Me and a couple other guys, we owned an apartment complex. You understand me? So, that was early in the street. And I wasn't but 23 years old. And so what I learned over time that, which nobody told us, is that it wasn't even about the product, because I thought the streets was what made me, man. But I learned when I started getting legit that, man, it wasn't the streets that made me. It wasn't the product that made me. It was me who made me. It was my hustle that made me. It was my work ethic that made me. You understand me? It was my willingness to learn. You understand me? It was my willingness to be creative. You understand me? All of these things are what helped me in my ultimately get to where I am today. You understand me? I invest in crypto. I've won, I've lost. I've invested in the stock market. I've won, I've lost. You know what I'm saying? I've day traded, man, but I study. Every day I'm always watching information. I'm always learning. I'm always building. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm writing books. Like I wrote, before I got my first book published, I wrote 3 books. I wrote a book in prison. In transit, I had like 300 pages that I hand wrote. Man, and I was in Atlanta. I was at Atlanta USP, man. They made me throw my damn book away, man. That killed me, man. And I hand wrote that whole book, man, while I was in prison, man. It's just a lot of things that I've always tried to do. Then I wrote another book that I did on my radio show. And when I wrote that book, I gave it to a girl. She told me she was a publisher. She told me she was gonna critique it and edit it and all of that. And she took my money. She took my $2,000 and she took my book and ran and she disappeared. And that was another setback, But I was able to go through that. Now today I got over 10 books on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the endeavors. That's one of the things that I do on man. And like I say, man, I constantly invest every day. I still invest in crypto, even though we got these Democrats biting in them in office, man, where ain't no money really, no real money flowing. But see, I still, every day I invest in crypto. Every day I invest in the stock market. You understand me? I own real estate. I own 5 houses out here. See, if you look at my backyard, I got a 2-acre backyard. Actually, we back there cleaning it up right now. I got cars, jewelry. I got
so let's
stuff like that, man, that I do, man.
Let's talk about that, and let's talk about how you've been able to turn a story that could have went totally left, and more so for the youth than not. Like, so, where you found yourself potentially, just heading in the wrong direction. You had to buckle down and get focused, but then there was the influx and the things that you were able to learn, read, and were able to glean from allowed you to start building up financial wellness. And so you were able to really start to acquire assets and work towards these things. So what were some of those successful businesses, and maybe, specifically, what were 1 or 2 resources or 2 people that you really paid attention to that really kind of set you on that other trajectory?
Well, a couple things that transformed my life. I always consider my eights or my transitional years. When I turned 18, that was a transitional year for me. You know what I'm saying? That's when I started doing real good in the streets. When I turned 28, when I was in prison, that's when I started really taking life serious. That's when I started. I was in prison. I went to prison at 23. And I was still in prison, but the first few years I was just bullshitting, joking, and on the phone and shit. So at 28, man, is when I had been in prison. I still had a long time to go. I was like, oh shit, man. And so that's when I started taking life serious. That's when I started reading a lot of books. That's when I started just educating myself and studying. And so when I got out of prison, I was out for 2 years, and then I ended up catching another trafficking case, and I ended up catching 10 more years. And when I went the second time is when I found out my purpose in prison, and I found out that I'm a teacher. So I taught GED. I helped a lot of guys in prison get the GED. And that was when I learned, and even out here, even when I was in my tow truck, they used to always call me the tow truck preacher. You understand me? Because I'm always, and I taught the word of God in prison. I always read, and everybody always respected me for my, not so much for my bravado, but for my knowledge. You understand me? And then I went through stages of teaching, so that helped me in prison. And so when I got out of prison, I said I would be more than a hypocrite because I only had a high school diploma, but I went and got my degree. Now I'm working on my PhD. I got my master's degree. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree. I ended up getting my master's, and so I decided to do my PhD. So I just started my PhD back in February. So I'm actually working on my PhD now, and so learning, educating myself, continuous education. You understand me? And so now I always wanted to figure out how. So now with these platforms, now I'm getting an opportunity to teach people what I enjoy doing, and I have enough money where I'm flexible enough where I can build this. Hopefully I'll survive as I'm building up my teaching platform, you know what I'm saying, to monetize it. Well, I just monetized my YouTube channel, but to be able to monetize just everything as far as my book sales, as far as my, you know what I'm saying, all of the royalties that I'm putting, because I'm putting children's books out, educational children's books, I'm putting my YouTube. I teach on my YouTube every day. I teach the gas station podcast. So I teach all of these on all of these different platforms. Man, it's all about developing people, about helping them grow, helping them build. You know what I'm saying? I talk about the 3 W's every day. Waking up, getting you 30 minutes of some word, getting you 30-minute workout, making sure that you're doing something else for your physical health, and also getting on platforms like this or listen to platforms like this where you can learn something each and every day. To hit your 30 minutes of learning something every day, we need to be learning something or getting some information from somebody, building off something. Not just listening to gossip, not just watching sports, not just watching movies, not just getting high, getting drunk all day, and not doing anything that are building us. And so that's important to me, man, as far as the growth process, and that's important to me as far as that's concerned.
Well, I got one more question for you because we had a conversation earlier, and you told me about how you purchased this nice piece of land that we're sitting on right now.
Right.
But then as you invested more into your land, you found out there was an opportunity to get even more land. Right. And so it came from you doing your research, your due diligence, and actually being active and taking the initiative rather than waiting for somebody to tell you something, right?
Right.
And so it's always about this thirst for knowledge or this thirst to understand and uncover what the situation really has in store and the opportunity that might be there. And so just talk a little bit more about how just having that initiative and how that kind of transcends into great outcomes.
Well, I'm always looking for opportunities to build, opportunities to invest, opportunities to grow. So, with that being said, my thing is with that is like, for example, like this house I live in now. I paid $30,000 for it. Today it's worth $400,000. You understand me? And I've only owned this 4 years. The house I had before this over in the West End. A lot of people who know me. They know my property that was over in the West End. I paid $30,000 for that one too. And it was an abandoned house. This house was an abandoned house when I built it. I built this house myself. You understand me? And I worked on my other house. You know what I'm saying? My house in the West End, even though I don't own it no more, I sold it for $150. The lady that I sold it to, I paid $30 for it. I sold it for $150. The lady turned around less than 6 months and sold it for almost $375,000. And now that house is worth over $500,000. You understand? And that's less than 2 years ago. I kind of keep up with that house because I bought that house 10 years ago when nobody was even thinking about it. Everybody thought, in fact, they thought I was crazy. Like, why are you buying a house over here? So I see a lot of opportunities that a lot of people don't see because my mother taught me a long time ago, and I saw it happen when we were growing up in East Austin. Because that's where I'm from. My mother was telling me that they was going to regentrify that community and take that community, and I thought my mama was crazy as hell. I did. I literally thought she was crazy. I thought she didn't know what the hell she was talking about. Now the whole total East Austin, if anybody knows anything about Austin, Texas, you understand me, is totally white people. There's no black folk. They completely took our whole neighborhood and took our whole community. I remember I had a friend whose house, man, that we used to think he lived in a shack, and we used to make fun of his house, right? It's a true story. And over there by the Alamo. And today that house, they didn't tear the house down, rebuild the house. It's the same house. They just refurbished the house. The house is worth over $1 million. And this is a house, as a child, we used to make fun of. You understand me? But that shows that the lack of vision that we had. You understand me? The lack of community that we had. You understand me? And even right here where I'm at now, you know what I'm saying? It's development coming in here that I know about, that I know about early, that a lot of people don't know about. I try to tell them about it, but they don't have the vision, they don't have the forethought, they can't see what I was taught a long time ago from my mother. And so, and I understand, because they wasn't taught the same lesson from their mother, and I saw it in action. And so now, that's how I buy properties, by the future gentrification coming in, the future development coming in. I know, I'm gonna give y'all a little trick, I'm gonna give y'all a little nugget. When I buy properties by grocery stores. Grocery stores do all of the research. Grocery stores do all of the research. So if you can find you a good property by a new grocery store, or by a grocery store that just got developed, like a Kroger's, an Albertsons, you understand me? Certain companies buy early development, and grocery stores buy early development. And so you understand me? And some restaurants do that also. Like Waffle Houses, for example, they buy early development. That's why you see a Waffle House there sitting all by itself for a long time before the infrastructure comes in. So you got to know certain companies already do the research early. Tell you another one more nugget. You understand me? Storage houses, where you buy storage units. They do the early research. They do the early research. They do the early research. You understand me? They do the early research. I'm doing something, please. Bye. They do the early research. That's my daughter, y'all. Sorry about that. She got to be seen. She can't accept until you tell her no. But anyway, that's part of it. I love her to death. But anyway, that's all part of of understanding when you buy real estate or buy other things. You understand me? So I own a bunch of, I own a bunch of properties, but I own about 5 properties out here. You know what I'm saying? And my goal is to buy 4 more. I always tell y'all my goal is to get 4 more properties before the end of the year is up, because they got a lot of development coming out here, and so I'm trying to be ahead of the curve. I'm trying to be ahead of the curve on that. And so, that's just one of the things that I'm doing. So, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I told y'all, I've switched from the service business into the product business. So everything I'm doing is about education and product development. I don't want to do no service business no more.
I hear that. Well, I appreciate your time. We just always like to come across great people, and we are going to continue to support Legacy Moves and all the good things that it's doing, and we just appreciate you, and hopefully we can bring you to one of our tour stops at one of our schools so you can share in person, answer questions in person. Appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate you, bro.